Hi folks. I told you that I was having some problems this year again with the fruit trees, that the apple trees didn't do much and the peach tree didn't. But the one thing that did do well this year was this pear tree. It started off a little slow, but during the season I kept noticing, oh yeah, there are pears in there. They're kind of tucked in between the branches here a little more. And this other smaller pear tree actually had 4 huge pears on it. This is the first I've gotten any off of that one. Now, I'm not an expert on pears by any means. We had a pear tree when I was a kid growing up right about in this same spot, but I never paid much attention to it. So when I planted these two, I thought, okay, I better read up on, managing and dealing with pears. And what I learned was you don't wait until pears are ripe to pick them. If you wait until they're ripe, they're too far gone. They need to ripen after they've been picked. Now, but there is one thing that they said to tell when you should pick them. If you pick them too green, they won't ripen. But what they suggested is you take the pear like this and you turn it sideways like this. And if it releases from the stem, from the tree, it's ready to be picked. Now you can see this one isn't, so that's not quite ready yet. I've probably picked, I don't know, 12 off of here already. And there are a few more up in here that I just checked yesterday that weren't ripe either. So that's the way that you can tell when it's time to pick the pears. You don't wait until they drop to the ground. You just, is it going to release? If it releases, then you know it's time to pick it. Now, how do you get it to ripen? Well, there's another method for that somebody suggested that I've found that actually does work. It involves a paper bag. You take your pears that you picked, the pears that were ripe enough to take off the tree but not ripe enough to eat, and you put them in a paper bag. And you put another piece of ripe fruit in with them, whether it's an apple or a banana, not other pears, but another type of fruit, an apple, a banana. Because ripening fruit emits a certain gas, I can't remember the name of it, and that's not all that important. You can look it up if you want. When it ripens, and if you put another piece of ripe fruit in with the pears, it will stimulate the pears to ripen as well. The gas emitted from the other piece of fruit will kind of kickstart their ripening. And depending on the pears, I'm sure it might be a week, 2 weeks, I don't know. You just have to check them. And there are some in here that I just put in a day or so ago, and there are others that have been in here for a little longer. How can you tell when they're ripe? Well, when you squeeze them here a little bit and they're not rock hard, and when you press against the nose here where the stem is, and it gives, that it's kind of softer right there, that's a sign that they're about ripe. You don't want to wait until they over-ripen or they turn very mushy, and then they're not good at all. But when they get to the point of ripening, when you can squeeze on this and you feel it springy and it's not rock hard anymore, then you know they're ready to eat. They don't, maybe certain types of pears turn more of a color than another. These really don't all that much. And me with a little bit of color blindness, I don't always notice the difference between green versus brown or green versus, yellowish. But at any rate, I've had a number of them already. They're very good. Both varieties are very good when they're ripe. And considering that, I wasn't able to do much spraying this year and because of how wet it was, I'm thrilled with the amount of pears that this tree has put out, and I expect next year it'll even have more. So, and this other small tree too that will also produce more. 2 different varieties here, and we'll see what happens. So my wife is thinking about maybe when these ripen, instead of making applesauce, she'll make pear sauce. So we'll try that. I'll let you know how that turns out. But this is just advice that I was given, so I wanted to pass it on. Maybe you have some other tips. Share in the comments below. I'd be happy to learn more about this because, as I said, I'm far from an expert on dealing with pears, but it's becoming a success, at least this year. They taste good, and they did ripen, and the tree was producing them. So we will keep you informed, over the course of the winter, how we trim the trees again like we did before, just to give you an update on how things are going. And maybe next year we'll find that we have lots more pears. I don't know. remember in the spring we had to cover all these trees the one night with a late frost, but so that the blossoms wouldn't freeze, and we managed to salvage them. So we'll see what happens this year, and we'll go from there. Now, one other little tip again that I had told you before, it's in the fall now. I need to get these trunks painted white again. Remember to keep them from splitting in the early spring when you get the hot sun and the cold air, and if the trunks split then the tree could die. So I've got to take one of these sunnier afternoons and just slap some paint on there. No oil-based paint, no glossy paint, just your basic. It can be indoor or outdoor flat paint. Some people even suggest mixing 50% water with 50% flat latex paint to coat them. So that's just to protect them as they mature. So I thank you for watching. I hope this is helpful. I hope that you have pears if you want them, or grow pears if you want them. They're a good fruit, and you can read up on all the health benefits from them. But it's just one of the things we've decided to grow here. So please, if you haven't, subscribe to our channel, Country Living on a Shoestring. And also don't forget, those of you who have subscribed, to hit that little bell in the upper corner there. That's the notifications bell. That'll tell you when a new video has posted. It'll keep you up to date. So thank you again, and we'll be back to you.